Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Talk Junkies. Jesse, Johnny in the house.
What's up? I like how you just started off pointing at the...
I'm making sure to keep the labels out because I had some people that had first-time podcast watchers, and I was drinking a Truly, and they were a little frustrated that I didn't... They wanted to know what I was drinking. So I'm going to make sure to keep the labels out for everybody tonight. Not promoting any of this because Crown Royal does not pay us any money. Neither does Truly. Not yet. We'll see.
And Crown Royals.
Also, shout out to them.
A little overrated.
Shout out to them. That's Reggie and Lorray.
Reggie and Lorray, thanks. Thanks for watching.
Appreciate it, guys.
Yes, thank you very much. It's our first podcast of the new year, so happy 2020, everyone.
Holy shit, it is the first podcast
it is,
of the new year.
Yeah.
God damn.
It is. So lots of good things to come from Talk Junkies in the year of 2020. We're excited for it. It's going to be good. It's going to be fun. That's what it's all about, baby.
Ja.
Shout out to our new subscribers. I don't know who you are, but we have like 4 of them, so I appreciate you subscribing to us. Thank you very much for that.
Big ups.
Yeah. So we're going to get into some things tonight. I think the basis of the podcast for this evening is going to be focused around war, what war is, what it's about. We have talks about war now with Iran, and we've had a podcast about it before, but I think we're going to look at it a little different this time.
It's important right now.
It is.
To discuss.
Because I think there's a lot of fear-mongering going on right now
Okay.
with the recent events that have happened, which you actually know more about this. I remember sitting down and having a chat with you. And actually, I was almost a little fearful, mainly because I had just woken up and I'd read, and I don't keep up with news too much. Everybody knows that. But just like reading it, and I'm like, oh, man, the U.S. government had a part of killing an Iranian official in Iraq, I believe is what it was, through a drone strike that they had labeled a terrorist, but actually the Iranian government was like, man, you shouldn't have fucked with this guy. Am I getting any of that right?
No,
This is literally what I read off the internet, and then everybody's all of a sudden talking about World War III, and they're worried about drafts and everything.
Dude, that's what, I mean, I mentioned it briefly before we started recording and stuff. Like, I've done a really bad job this last week of keeping up with current events. Usually I do just okay at it, just enough. But I remember seeing all these, like, World War III memes and all this different stuff, and I'm like, what happened? Like, what actually happened? I didn't know. I haven't kept up with it.
Yeah, you may actually know more than I do. I didn't know all that. I didn't go to the extent to read it. I just have seen that there. You have half the people who say that we shouldn't have done it, and you have half the people who say that we should have.
And I'm not going to lie, I know nothing about it.
I don't keep up geopolitically enough in the world to know whether or not that was a good or a bad decision.
Well, there was something that I did read when Clinton was going through his impeachment. There was airstrikes in Iraq. You know, just how convenient, right?
His impeachment was about him getting blown, though.
Sure, but I mean, impeachment's impeachment, right?
That's true.
And it's just, you know, that's just how, and I think that this is how this whole podcast will go, is that in a way, maybe war is fabricated. People, and I know that you guys have a different take on it and think that a major war will never happen again, just due to the economy and how everything is so structured. But airstrikes happened, and there are some people pissed off, and you have Iran who says they're going to retaliate. And if they do, we'll see. I don't know how they would do it or what they would do, but scary shit, man. I'm not really too sure on why people are talking about the draft and why they might re-implement the draft. I'm not too keen on that, but
yeah, I don't think a draft would happen. Well, the first thing that would happen before a draft would happen is the Army Reserves would be activated, right?
I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure
assume.
that's... Yeah,
I assume.
I mean, the Army, like, before you even start talking about a draft, and a lot of people are blowing it up on the internet that, oh, we're going to get drafted, World War III. Well, the first step would be the Army Reserves get activated, and then... some military person out there is going to shit on my opinion right now because I really don't know that too much about it. But
I feel like at this point as a country, though, we have enough military to where I don't think we'll ever see a draft again.
Because we made it
at least not in our lifetime. I don't think in our lifetime we'll see a draft. Because we have such a... You mentioned it earlier before the podcast. We have 4 of the biggest militaries in the world. The Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and the Marines. Like, we're stocked up on military personnel, is what I'm saying. And we're all over the world.
We spend a ridiculous amount of money.
If you go to you randomly on the globe, just pick a country and go there, there's a 66% chance that U.S. military are there. Like,
Right.
we're in 2/3 of the world's countries. We're pretty set military wise. I don't see a draft happening again.
Our foothold in other countries is very prevalent. To where that shouldn't be a necessity. But if you are worried about the draft, and if you were looking at the dominoes falling effect to where a draft would happen, I think the Army Reserves is the next thing that you look at. And up until that happens, I don't think you even need to be talking about whether or not a draft is going to happen or not.
Right, and at that point, I would be curious to see how many people would actually be deployed if there were to be a war, which there would have to be a war first to know how many people you would need. But with technology and the way it's advanced, I don't really see the need for a large amount of boots on the ground.
No, and like we're not going to have the whole storming of the beaches of Normandy like you did in World War II and stuff like that. Doesn't happen anymore, I feel like, in modern day warfare.
No, because technology has taken over to where a drone can do way more work. Like one individual manning a drone can do way more than what like 30 troops could do.
Oh yeah.
Somewhere.
Well, and you're talking.
So that's technology.
You're talking physical stuff, though. You're talking like a drone blowing stuff up. I'm going even farther than that. Like the information we have. Like back then, intel was a hard thing to come by. Now with satellites and drones and everything else, we get our intel weeks ahead of time about stuff like to prevent stuff like the storming of Normandy from ever even needing to occur, because you have the behind-the-scenes stuff that we don't see, the behind-the-curtain stuff take place because of intel that we've got from satellites.
I'd be curious to look up the casualties of war, I guess just on the U.S. side, to see, because technically whatever war we're in, I don't even know what
I can't
are we still?
I don't know.
Because didn't Bush say that we won? We won a war?
The fact that we're talking about war as our podcast
topic,
all and we don't even know right now
no,
whether
because
or not
it's very confusing. I mean,
no, it
think about
is.
We've never won the war. We've never won the war in Iraq.
I know, but think about it. We've been at war with the Middle East since I was like a little kid.
Right now?
It's been a continuous war. Have there been times of peace, long amounts of time? Yeah,
but we've still occupied that region of the world.
Well, I mean,
so I don't. Normally, after you win a war, technically you leave and then you let them.
Which we've never left. So yeah, you're right. Still,
so has it been the same war? I don't know. I bet you this would be a great podcast for Mike Anderson to be on. Actually, yeah. I bet you he could shed a little bit more light. And there's other individuals that are more
knowledgeable
about this topic than us. We're going to do our goddamn best, though.
You're damn right we are.
That's the plan.
Do our goddamn best here.
Do we really even have, like, a basis, though? I mean, like, look how small these countries are. And Iran sit here and threatens us, and same with North Korea. They threaten us. But I think it's funny when we talk about, the most powerful country in the world, military-wise, like, how laughable is it? Like, to say that we're going to go into war with these countries, and if they mess with us, we'll wipe them off the face of the earth. Why are we even going into wars with countries that have no chance against us?
I'm about to say something that a lot of people probably don't want to hear, and that's the fact that I think that war, and like the boots on the ground style of war, is very much like a surface level thing. That's for, I shouldn't say publicity, because that's too much. I'm not saying it's for publicity, but I'm saying it's a very surface level thing in the sense that, like, if you really are wanting to, like, take out a country and stuff like that, you don't do boots on the ground, invade them and all that. I feel like we're in an age of technology now. You get hackers, you mess with the banks, you mess with their economy, you mess with, like, their social structure,
the social media,
all kinds of stuff.
You get into their social media.
Social media, but not just that, but like I said, the economy, that's a big one. You mess up their economy, and you can mess up their economy very easily these days, or not, I shouldn't say easily. You can mess up the economy literally just using the internet and stuff like that instead of having troops on the ground in that country. So I feel like that's more of just a surface level kind of thing. And I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong. This is all just opinion.
I think this is absolutely true because you don't ever see ground wars happening like that.
Well, there's still ground war. You still have, like, Afghanistan and Iraq recently. There's still people that die, and there's still bombs that go off in cars, and you hit a landmine.
But then you hear
you're talking about our troops going over to somewhere that already has kind of a messed up economy and destroy. You're talking about, like, with the whole, like, Gaddafi thing and all this stuff, and you have, or even, what was that country back in, like, Mogadishu and all this different stuff where you have people come in because they're already a war-torn country fighting amongst themselves, different dictators wanting control and whatnot. And I'm trying to think how to word it. We're going into a country that's already kind of economically destabilized, and we're putting people in there. So that's when you have, like, war, boots on the ground style. I'm saying you're talking about other countries attacking us. like North Korea and Iran and stuff, we're not going to get. If they wanted to attack us, the way they hurt us isn't by putting boots on the ground over here. It's by doing what I was saying with destabilizing our economy.
That would be the biggest effect for sure.
So the war that you're right, there is ongoing like warfare right now that we have, but I feel like that's got nothing to do with. We can't destabilize an economy that's already.
So when it comes to people talking about the draft, I don't know where this came from. I would be interested, and maybe I could look it up and see how this even started, why they would even want to have a draft in any way, shape, or form. Because in light of what we're talking about, it's really not feasible. It's not going to happen. That's just not the way to go when it comes to war. And not only that, and we've talked about it in previous podcasts before, is that we're a one world economy now. We're legitimately a one world economy. And I don't know what you guys think about this, but we're against China right now. We have sanctions on them, shit like that.
We also need China.
Exactly. And I've never looked at really the trade deals before Trump was president. I really didn't know the trade deals that Obama had or any previous presidents had with China. And maybe they were reaping us, maybe they were reaping the tree of apples or whatever. But we all need each other, like you said. Like, truly, right? So, like, what type of war would happen to where the powers that be would allow something to happen?
That's another reason why I say it's all very surface level kind of stuff. Because you can't, if we were to actually, like, you go in and wipe out, like, China or whatever, like, that causes destabilization for, like, the world economy. Because we are one giant world economy now. We've reached that point.
Everybody's too reliant upon everyone else. And I don't think a whole lot of people know this. Like, the United States just can't, like, stand alone anymore. Like, that's not a thing that can happen. We're too reliant on China, Japan, literally every other country that exports us anything and has resources that we have. So that's why you don't see. That's why you'll never see a World War III, which we've talked about this in a previous podcast. But you can't physically do that because it's literally going to war with yourself. Because this is where your money is coming from. This is where resources are coming from. You can't do that. Which is why war should be especially nowadays, be like the least thing. If
there was ever an equivalent of a World War III, I still think it would be behind the scenes. It'd be very Cold War style, information-based, stuff that we, the general public, would never see and never deal with.
That's weird to think about, that was actually the turning point of this is no longer trench warfare.
The Cold War was the switching point.
How like you had like guerrilla warfare for the Civil War, and then you had trench warfare. That might have been like World War One.
Trench warfare was before, actually.
I think that was World War One was trench warfare.
You had some in Vietnam too, right?
Vietnam was like dropping. That's guerrilla. That's also guerrilla warfare. Just dropping motherfuckers off in planes. But you don't.
No, I think he's saying when they were first introduced.
There's different. Gotcha. There's been different. Okay, you go back to the Revolutionary War when you just line up troops in single filed lines, and they'd have this is the technology.
You have the one guy who's like fire, and then everybody reloads,
and then all of a sudden technology changed that, and warfare changed, and then it went to guerrilla warfare, and then it went to trench warfare, or however it is. Mike Anderson's probably, if he listens to this podcast, just like cringing right now because of how much historical shit I'm getting wrong. He's like, oh, man, you're getting so much shit wrong. But the one thing I'm trying to put out there is technology has changed the way that we do things. Technology has united us through the internet, basically, to where everything is so connected now that the U.S. can't just be this lone thing. The world is very much a whole thing, which is how it should have been approached to begin with. Because that's a very open-minded thing. We need to respect other countries, other cultures, all of this. And we need to be reliant upon them. And once you become respectful and reliant upon them, and they become reliant upon us, and then there's this exchange of information, you need that respect there too. But it's changed to that. So now you can't just go in and blow a motherfucker up, and then without blowing a little piece of yourself up too, just because of the way things are interconnected.
So
there's also some morality there too about killing other people for monetary reason.
I mean, a little bit.
It seems a little bad too. I feel like that needs to be brought up a little bit.
That's always been.
But I'm not to sound like super fucking hippie right now or anything.
And it's not like we have some new age idea what we're talking about right here. And the elites, they have to think the same way. Like they know it's a one world economy. Again, it's not something that we three just invented.
The elites will never have to pick up a goddamn gun and go fight somebody or ever see wartime. That's always been the big thing about, the song back in the fucking 70s where the guy was like, I ain't no rich man's son. You know, God damn it, what's that song? I know
what you're talking about. I don't know the song.
It's
though.
like, God damn it. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
There's a 70s song that fits it so well. It's about going into war in the 70s, to where it's like all the rich people who decided this war needed to happen, none of them have to fight for it, and I have to go fucking fight in this war, which nobody liked the Vietnam War, but
Well, and why? I mean, we have to protect our country in any way, shape, or form. But you don't need millions upon millions of people to do that, especially with the way that it is now and how war is, like you said, Johnny, behind the scenes. But I guess what I was trying to ask is, I forgot, man. I completely forgot.
So you were saying we need to protect our country in any way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, you protect American soil. You protect the freedoms that we have here. I'm not saying that we're a perfect country. There's a lot of things that we need to work on. There are some countries that actually do some things better than us, in my opinion, too. But how much of other countries maybe coming after us and hating us are not so much totalitarian ideas of taking over land, but so much resources to where we have a foothold, and we've just pissed all these fucking people off because the United States has so many footholds.
You're saying we caused people to be angry at us?
Yeah, because we're on so many people's doorstep, and we have this massive military that can't even, nobody can go up against. And then all of a sudden we have this massive foothold. We have the biggest economy. And honestly, do you think we did that through just pure goodwill and good heart, and then there wasn't some shady shit going on with the U.S. doing that too? So maybe you got to piss some people off and piss some countries off.
No, I mean, think about it. If
there's a price for everything,
and they don't really have an option.
You can't do it.
Put yourself
100% morality.
This is shitty to say because everybody has so much. Everybody's like so nationalism and like U.S. pride and all this. And there's nothing. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that to a degree. But you have to realize, like, you got to put yourself in the shoes of someone else too. Like, if we were a smaller country, like if we lived in the United States was way, way smaller, just tiny little country, so on and so forth. The fact that you pointed that out, Jesse, drives me crazy. That I say that all the time. I get it. It's cool.
I had to.
Anyways, Jesus. If we were a small little country, and a giant country sent people over and stationed them here so that they could get oil and stuff like that, like, wouldn't that piss you off?
100%.
Wouldn't you hate that giant country for coming over and fucking up everything about your land and stuff just to get oil and just to...
I think, okay, this might be a little off track, and my train of thoughts back a couple paragraphs, whatever we were talking about. But the individuals that think that the United States is the best nation and that we're this perfect nation...
That's ridiculous.
There is a fundamental flaw within your thinking there. Because if you think something is perfect, that means that no change ever needs to happen and everything needs to stay the status quo. When the very essence of humanity in life is the one inevitable thing is change. And things change, and you need to adapt to it. So even if it was perfect somewhere in the past, the Constitution back in 1776, whenever shit was made, and that was perfect then, if you think that's exactly how it needs to be right now too, because that's our founding fathers' shit, and you don't think it ever needs to change when everything is inevitably changing, you have a bad mentality with this. You need to realize that I don't want to go down that road because there are fundamental things within the Constitution that guarantees human beings inalienable rights.
Okay. The core foundation of the Constitution grants us freedom, right? So I don't think that needs to change. You can talk about change all you want, and change is everything, but freedom of will and freedom to do what you do, nothing needs to change about that. That's the core of the Constitution, is to be able to be free and walk around and do whatever the fuck you want to do.
And we're not even as free as we were back then.
Exactly.
We've had freedoms reduced since then.
So that's what I'm saying. Change, that sort of change is not necessary. The Constitution doesn't need to change because some of it, yes, but the fundamentals of the Constitution doesn't need to change.
Okay, the core values of the Constitution.
Right. There are core values.
If you look at the Declaration of Independence is so fucking beautiful. Is in the sense to where it literally, I'm pretty sure it says in there.
It also holds no weight.
No, you're right. You're right, because there is no law. There is no law value to it to a person. The Declaration of Independence is just kind of like the mantra.
It's like an anthem saying.
No, it's like the mantra of the new coming of age American nation and what America's about. Basically, you're right. It has no law value. You can't bring up the Declaration of Independence in a court of law or anything like that. But there's some beautiful shit in there that literally says the people run the shit, and if you don't like the way the shit's being ran, because the people back then who wrote it, because they were coming from a corrupt fucking government, they were like, hey, if shit ever gets corrupt and it becomes too corrupt, go in there and fucking take over and fucking fix that goddamn shit.
Boom.
Nobody fucking reads the goddamn Declaration of Independence too much. There's some beautiful goddamn shit in there.
100%.
But, man, I don't even know where I'm going to go from that.
Do you think that war is kind of like NFL football or NBA? It's just entertainment just to keep us distracted.
Oh, no, that's not entertainment. There is actual tangible fucking value that comes out of war. You obtain resources, you obtain land, all this. I'm not talking. Not entertainment.
I'm not talking about the fact of what war is, like in that aspect. I'm talking about like what we see, like
the surface level stuff that I was talking about.
What media shows us.
Oh, what media?
Yeah, that's entertainment.
That's entertainment, man. Like
people don't like to hear that word and have it called entertainment, but that's what it is. When you watch the news, the news is putting the stuff that they want you to see, that they think will get more views, because that's how they make money.
Right.
When you watch the news, it's not always real news. It's skewed. It's altered so that you watch it, because at the end of the day, it is entertainment. Even if you don't want to accept you as an individual enjoying that kind of entertainment, if you're sitting there watching it, you're enjoying it, or else you wouldn't be.
Imagine how many
watching it.
Imagine how many echo chambers that they were able to affect the past week, Johnny. You didn't even look at social media at all. And then when you open it up for the first time, you're like, what the fuck? The draft? They're talking about a draft? That's in where we live in Belton, man. And that's affecting that. Imagine that on a wide scale in the United States. That's hitting everyone. Everyone's talking about it, man. That is bread and circus.
Yeah.
Bread and circus. I like that reference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goes back to Roman days.
They literally just they got that many hits. They made that much money off just that one piece.
I mean, that you shouldn't. I mean, the media is just as corrupt as probably any other. I don't even want to call it an institution, even though it is an institution.
It is for sure.
It shouldn't be placed on that fucking level, because it's supposed to be unbiased and just giving you information.
But no, the news is very much. I mean, you got
and they play into war so much because they are covering the war allegedly. They're the ones who show you the videos, all that shit, man. They show you the videos, the airstrikes. The government gives it to them, so they're in cahoots. For sure they're in cahoots. How does the media get all of that fucking access to all that information and all these videos? Bullshit, man. Come on. They're all in cahoots. It's all about money. It's all about oil. That's what it comes down to.
I mean, that's what I've said.
Oil. Bitch, you cooking? Sorry, that's
what I've said multiple times.
I had to.
And I hate it because I feel like I bring it up a lot, but I want to drive the point home that like, at the end of the day, everything is about money. Maybe not small scale. Maybe at the end of the day, you're like, oh yeah, I do this for my family and love and so on and so forth. But big scale, like on a world level, like everything is about money. Everything is about power. Money equals power right now. So,
and how many people really know what money is or what money is about? And this is a whole different subject or podcast. But should money have
that shit's so confusing? You know how hard it is. Even people who spend their entire lifetime trying to understand the world economy still don't fucking really know what's going on, because there are so many moving pieces and fucking variables to that shit where it's almost opinionated just like anything else.
Well, I think
that's who you need to get on the podcast, Paul. Is like an economist. Is that a word?
Yeah, 100% an economist. Yeah.
Good luck getting a world economist on here.
And I don't even know if I want to go down that route, just for the simple fact that the money that we call today the American dollar is backed by nothing. It's not backed by gold. It's not I mean, I guess it's backed by oil, but I mean, oil fluctuates, man. I mean, that's frustrating. Alan Greenspan, man, he used to be the chairman of the Federal Reserve, and he was doing an interview. It was probably early 2000s, and they sat him down. It was broadcasted to everyone, and they said, "Does the president control you of the United States? Like, do you answer to anyone?" He said, "No. We don't answer to anyone. We do what we want to do."
They fucked everybody the second they put the word federal in there.
Yeah.
Because everybody thinks federal government.
Right.
Federal does not have anything to do with fucking government.
They're a bank.
It is privately owned. The Federal Reserve is a privately owned institution.
They're the ones who control the war.
Where all money comes from. I don't want to go that far.
Right. As of right now, yeah. I mean, everything has to be.
I don't want to.
Everything's based upon the U.S. dollar with the petrodollar.
So many people don't know this. The Federal Reserve, the motherfuckers that print your money and are in control of all the money, have nothing to do with how you vote, who you fucking vote for, taxes, anything like that. They're a privately owned fucking institution, and the government literally comes in and hands them government U.S. bonds and goes, "Hey, we need $1 billion." And rich fucking motherfuckers go, "Okay, I'll give that to you at like 8% fucking interest, and then I'll fucking print off your money."
Paul's kind of right to a degree about them controlling the war a little bit. I never thought about it before.
I'm sure they do. I'm just questioning the amount that they have to say. Dude, there's so much shit. The corporate oligarchy shit we always fucking get into. Like how much is the Federal Reserve involved in it? Dude, they should just be this. They should just be sitting back just laughing.
I'm pretty sure.
Just for example's sake,
Federal Reserve just for example's sake,
real quick, to like put it into perspective. I'm going to use a Game of Thrones reference here because a decent amount of people, I would hope, have seen Game of Thrones. It was pretty popular. But a big example of that is the in Game of Thrones, the Iron Bank, which would be like the equivalent of like a Federal Reserve or something, literally controls who's going to win. They pick who they're siding with and give them money and give them troops because they have it all. They have all the money and the ability to directly alter the outcome of what's going on.
They created interest when interest didn't even exist. When there was interest was not like.
Interest existed because the federal.
But they created money and then they put interest on that money.
Well,
when they didn't even have the money in the first place.
There was already loans. There was already loans that were established. The Federal Reserve wasn't separate from the government.
I mean, you probably had loans and stuff like that. Honestly, back in Roman times.
No, they did.
The Federal Reserve is completely separate from the government.
But it used to not be. The U.S. government used to print our own money
for sure
and give out money, and it was based. That's back when it was gold standard.
Right.
But once it became not gold standard, they had to. I don't know why they decided that it's even. You know what?
It was J.P. Morgan.
Let's not make it gold standard.
It was the Great Recession.
Let's base it off. Let's literally base it off the U.S. economy. And you know what? Let's go on ahead and the people who print the money. Let's go on ahead and pay them a shit ton of money to print the money. Is what it came down to, which is the most ridiculous shit. And people who are listening to this right now going, "You're making that shit up." That's not true. That's some conspiracy theory fucking bullshit you're saying right now. This is all 100% fucking true. 100% irrefutable fucking shit that the Federal Reserve has nothing to do with the U.S. government. It is a separate fucking institution that the U.S. government already pays money to in U.S. bonds to create the U.S. dollar, which means the U.S. dollar is created on interest, which means interest is inevitable at that point. If the money that you're using is created from interest will always be there. And you know what happens with that? You have massive, massive amounts of inflation, and eventually everything it fucking
constant
debt honestly ruins economies. The fact that we've only seen the amount of fucking downfall from it that we've seen in our fucking lifetime from the 2008 fucking crash, which had honestly nothing to do with that, which is probably had something to do with it if you really broke it down.
I mean,
but I'm not an
banks
economist
giving
by
out
any means.
loans that they shouldn't give out.
Yeah. But
it's the same type of thing.
But you talk about, man, how can we start this process on the absolute worst scale? Is creating money on interest itself to where you can, and how do you pay off that interest? Do you ever wonder how you pay off interest? You use money. But if you need money to pay off interest, who do you go to? You go to the Federal Reserve.
It doesn't exist.
But all of a sudden now, there's more interest.
They created the money. They created the interest.
So that's what I'm saying. So to pay off the interest, you need to go back to them. You have to go back to the Federal Reserve to print more money.
And the fact that they're not held accountable by anyone. They're not.
No. The fact that every U.S. citizen isn't up in arms at the fact that the Federal Reserve isn't completely burned the fuck to the ground, and the U.S. government takes control over printing its own money again, it should piss everybody off. But nobody knows this shit though.
No one does. Yeah, and
it's so true though. Oh my God, they don't teach it in high school.
There's quite a few people out there that do.
Mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
Yeah, they teach you all the bullshit you don't need to know.
How much have you used that in your life, by the way?
They teach you the Federal Reserve's fucked up
Have you ever been at a point in your life like you're paying bills, like you got that car payment right, you got relationship problems, you got stuff going on, and mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. That's what saved the day. Yeah. That's what came in handy and was good to know.
Man, that always got my dick hard, man. Whole mitochondria. Cell splitting shit.
Photosynthesis is important for plants. That's real. That's good to know.
Especially for the U.S. economy.
Yeah, no. You want to know how to do your taxes correctly, you got to know that plants need sunlight.
That's another thing that's so fucked, man. You ever try to do your taxes on your own? Shit's
tough.
Fucked.
No, I just use TurboTax, man.
God damn,
TurboTax all day.
I've done it 2 years in a row, and it takes me so long, so confusing. I'm like, dude, I
Like you
I work
wait,
at this
like you
place.
don't go through online or do any of that? You get the forms.
I go through online, but it's always a process, and I have to go through the.
Do you go through like the official, like the government
IRS,
site?
Like I have to. No, I go through some third party.
So that you're still not even really doing it 100% yourself.
Yeah, no, you're right, but it's free though. The whole point is I don't
no.
want to pay money to give the government money. I don't want to be like, hey, here's $100. All right, so I owe the government like $300 this year. All right, cool beans.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that shit.
And
server life.
And that plays into the Federal Reserve, man, and in the IRS 100%. And we've talked about taxes and shit like that. But I truly, and this is how I feel, and whenever someone talks about war and Trump and past presidents and war, and it's all bullshit, man. Like until a president comes out and questions the Federal Reserve, that's when we know.
That's when he gets fucking shot, man.
Exactly.
He gets fucking shot.
100%, you're right. He or she will get shot doing that. And we know at that point that those are the people who are truly in power. The people who print the money have all of the control. They are the ones who control war. They do it all.
Control the
man.
economy. You control the world.
Yep.
I see what you're saying now. Whenever you're coming back to that, no, it makes more sense.
Yep. That's what it is, man. You just everyone says follow the money, and you follow the money and you see what happens.
It's all about money.
It is.
It's always all about money.
It's always all about money. And people get so caught up into politics, man. And it's just frustrating. And I would love to make a career in politics. I was a debater in high school. I was very good at it. But just to see what it has evolved into, and it's been this way for 100 years now, maybe a little bit longer, it's pointless, man.
Would you say you were a master debater?
It was close to it, man. It's close to it. I was ranked in the top 250 in the nation, man, in high school.
Very nice.
In the nation, bro. It was
shout out to Belton High School, fucking Pirates.
Yeah, we had the number one debater in the world, or in the United States, Emily Pfeffer, man. She was the number one.
Wait, Belton is Pirates? I should know that.
Yeah,
I live here.
Yeah.
But I didn't go to school
I
here.
actually went to Ray Peck.
I went to Platte City, and they're also Pirates.
I bleed black and gold, son. Just kidding. I dropped out junior year. I don't give a fuck about that school.
I mean,
did you? Oh no, I don't want to get off on. We're like
That's
talking about
different.
war. Yeah, we're talking about
Tangent.
war and stuff, and
We're
I'm
trying
like,
to- we're trying
did
to
you
stay
go
on
to
the
your
same
high
topic.
school reunion?
well, and that's the frustrating part. Is just like, man, I have friends who have been stationed, to other countries. Multiple friends, man, and it's crazy that they don't. I don't know if they know the mindset that we have, like that they know the things that we know, and that there has to be people in the military that know that the government's corrupt. Why would you serve an institution like that? I mean, there are going to be
Money
people out
for
there
the,
that
for the
do
same
it.
reason the government does their bullshit.
But man, like these
Dude,
people,
people join. You think people want to?
Why do you think there's a sign-on bonus? Why do you think when you join the army, they're like, "Hey, we need people
free
right now, so
college.
here's a $20,000 sign-on bonus plus free college."
It's
which
not-
college is so fucking expensive now. Like that, it's for money, man.
Also,
but even it's extremely hard to like go through with all that shit.
there's also some ego involved in it too, because after you go through it, you have this ego that look at what I did for the rest of your life, and I see that from individuals. Like my dad, I respect the shit out of my dad. He never understood, because he served in Vietnam, and Vietnam was so awful for him. He never understood the guys that went to Vietnam that all they want to do is talk about Vietnam. He was like, man, that's such an awful time. Like, why do you want to talk about that? And I was like, that's an ego thing for them. Like, they're literally just, look at what I did, look at, it's a look at me kind of thing. Which, don't get me wrong, like, everybody appreciates
It's become
that
what
service.
they-
And
it's
that war
become-
was awful. And that war was awful. The things that they had to go through was awful. And you have to know, and I completely respect what they went through. But at some point, whenever you use that and you it's like you walk around and you flex that shit just constantly. Like look at what I did. My dad never understood it. He was like, man, this is an awful fucking thing we had to go through. Why do you need to bring this up constantly? It's them flexing it around constantly. You don't.
You feel like it's because it's become a part of their identity. It's what they see themselves
sure.
And
as.
I mean, there's a lot of things, and I don't want to talk shit on it. I don't want to talk shit on it at all, because I respect Vietnam veterans very heavily. I've bought drinks at bars before, sitting down and talking to individuals that were in the same place my dad was, and I remember hearing my dad tell stories, like the small amount that he talked about him. And my heart goes out to him, because my I wouldn't be alive if my dad got killed in that fucking war. Like shit. Like he came close a little fucking time, a couple times. But I was, I'm like, I get, like, why do you need to go around just, this was such an awful time. Like, if anything, my dad just tries to fucking just tuck it away. He was like, man, there's so much better things in life to talk about. He was like, man, I'd
let it out a little bit, but not like flex it like.
But
you said.
there's some individuals that almost, man, that's all they fucking talk about is fucking how they back in their fucking day, whenever they were in war in fucking Vietnam and their fucking experience, it's the only thing they can hang their hat on.
Well, war would be it would be completely different than the lives that we live. Like, you're talking.
I mean, it would be very
24/7.
life-changing.
Yeah,
like
24/7, like however many months it was, just straight war every single day.
I don't know, because I don't mean to be too judgmental, because I haven't walked that path, so I don't know who I'd be.
I didn't really think about it until right now when you brought it up.
I don't want to talk too much about it.
I didn't think about it until right now when you brought it up, but that's also, those are your defining years. Like, the time that they were in war, they were at that age where you're like defining who you are as a person, and you spend all those molding years defining who you are as an individual and what your life is about in wartime, in war. That does become your identity.
Oh yeah,
that's what you are.
I mean, and you get back from war and you're just in regular civilization, like, dude, that's completely, like, that would fuck you up, man, for life probably. Like you said, I mean, I wouldn't wish it upon anyone, and I respect him.
War is always an awful, awful fucking thing.
And
always an awful thing.
I think the most impactful thing about this conversation is the fact that, like you said, Jesse, those higher ups, those rich elite, they're not a part of it.
Yeah, no, they don't.
In any way, shape, or form. In any way, shape, or form, man. Back in the day, man, the kings had respect. And granted, I didn't live in that time, and I didn't read a lot of shit. But the kings of these villages, they were on the lead horse in that battle, man. That's the difference from back in that age to this age. These people aren't fucking there. They're on their couch sitting down eating Lay's potato chips
in their bunker.
Yeah,
in their bunker. No, you're right. You're right. It's way different than the Scottish. What was his name? God damn it, Mel Gibson played him in Braveheart. William. God damn it, I don't even fucking know.
Continue.
Man, Mike Anderson's gonna be so pissed if he fucking listens to this. My bad, Mike. Just in case you listen to this, my bad. You really should be on this one. I think you could give a lot
to say.
Oh man, Mike, you give so much to this podcast. And really make it blossom. But no, you had these fucking leaders that went out and didn't sit on the fucking sidelines like they were out there with you, as to where you have these people that are benefiting from death, basically. And then they never get to send their sons out either. Like, they're all of a sudden now all your family's safe, and the poor and middle class go and fight the rich person's war the way the rich person benefits from all
and
this.
And stays rich.
And this is sadly so much the fucking truth. So much the fucking truth that it's really sad. I think they should just go out there and fucking, if you sparked the fucking war and decided, hey, we need to go to war with whoever, and I'm going to benefit from this, but you know what, I really don't want to actually physically go out there and do it. Well, okay.
Well, then they probably wouldn't do the war.
Send your son then. You decided that this was right. Go and send your son into war. Put him on the fucking front line then, if you really agree with this. Because everybody else is risking the same thing. Why do you get to stay away from this? Should be voted on. Honestly, war should be voted on.
Yeah,
the same way a presidency should be.
But I mean, it should be voted on in the right way, because I think a lot of people are not in tune with what's really going on.
Well, the whole point is it's got to go through the Senate or the House of Representatives
for sure. Yeah,
for war. Well, which one is it?
Both
for a war to go through. So president.
Well, I think can the president not just declare?
No. It's got to go through, because the checks and balances, it can't just go through one branch.
Jesse, it's false, because we just did an airstrike and killed a leader, like a military leader in another country.
But that's not declaring war, though.
That's an act of war.
But we've already been. But okay,
when you do a strike with an airplane,
so after
after
9/11, we declared war, right? Dude, we're probably still legally writing off that same shit that we fucking declared
since 2000.
And whether or not it was the Senate or the House of Representatives that decided that and voted that it was okay.
Correct.
We're probably writing off that same.
No, it's the Patriot Act. Now it gives the president power to do whatever the fuck they want to do. They can literally.
No, man.
No, it's true.
Also
they don't have to ask Congress anymore. They don't. They literally can just go to war without the American people or without anyone. They just
that's the whole point of checks and balances. But you could even say that, even if it did have to go through another check and balances of, House of Representatives or the Senate, we still vote for the upper echelon rich people that fucking constantly stay in a position of power. It's this fucking 1%. We never really have a fucking say. And they keep us uneducated. They don't fucking give us the proper education we need. They make education fucking more expensive every year. Oh, man, I'm about to go on a huge tangent. Just get me away from that. Just start talking about anything else.
Off topic here real quick. Not super off topic. We're still talking about war, but, like, do you think in today's... I know I've talked about how we're past all that because of the Cold War and that whole switch and everything. But do you think it's possible in today's day and age to have a war that is not based on oil, not based on these things? And this sounds so, I say possible like it's a positive
moral?
thing. This
like you want a moral war?
Basically, I'm saying, do you think we'll have...
Like World War II, whenever
Yes.
the Jews
Do you
were
think
getting
we'll have
murdered
something
by
like
the
that
masses,
again?
but the United States didn't step in until we got fucked with first? It still wasn't even a matter of morality. You don't think the upper level of government didn't know exactly what was fucking going on?
No, I'm just
in
asking,
Germany?
do you think that'll happen again? Do you think we'll ever run into...
No, well, you'll never see a mass genocide like that because of the internet and fucking technology. You can't have that because people would be so outraged of what humanity is doing to humanity. We'd prevent it so quick.
You just do it in a different way. I mean, I think...
Although China's fucking...
To what you said, yeah, I mean...
It's an inkling, though. It's
Right.
an inkling compared to the fucking Holocaust.
I don't think that they would ever do it the way that happened. I don't think... maybe you had Rwanda, 400,000 people got massively genocide, and there wasn't a war like there was.
They disguise their economic advance in the world with morality is what they end up doing. They blanket their true agenda with morality. Every time they decide to go into
give us
into
massive
some
amounts
war.
of food, give us massive amounts of drugs, alcohol. Find other ways to kill people. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be in the same way.
If the U.S. government was fucking worried about morality, we'd be going in and not spending so much on warfare, but fucking feeding the world and actually looking like this. Oh, man, I'm about to sound super fucking liberal right now.
No, those are all valid points, though.
Yeah, no. It's weird. It's weird all of a sudden whenever you start to say you care about people and we need to not be so militaristic, my mind goes, oh, I'm sounding really liberal right now.
What's so wrong with that, though?
I know, right? I know, but I'm...
You know what's crazy about that is that, here's the thing.
But
Mike Anderson even talked
right
about
down
this.
the middle. I am right down the middle.
Mike
by the way,
Anderson
guys.
talked about this
liberal
with
and Republican,
tribalism.
I'm right down the middle.
He talks about this with tribalism. The whole, like, just because you're a conservative or a liberal doesn't mean you can't have ideals from both sides, and you should, by the way.
Everybody
There's
should be a mix
always
of the two.
a gray area. Like, if you're just, like, hardcore fucking, I am super conservative, then that's all I live and breathe, you know? And then on the opposite end, you're super liberal and you're like, I bleed blue and that's what I do. Like, that's not a good thing to be super on either side of it. Like, you need to be able to realize that there's good parts and bad parts to both sides, and that there shouldn't even be sides. It shouldn't be bipartisan. Like, you should just have a conglomeration of...
Mike Anderson literally talks about how both parties actually need each other because they balance each other in the end. Do you remember him talking about that?
Oh, yeah.
Fucking Mike Anderson needs to be on this fucking podcast, man.
I emailed him, man. I'm waiting on an email back. It might be too late.
No, but this is perfect for him, though.
Yeah.
He'd be able to shed so much good light on this. Everybody, you want to pull up his book real quick? Why not? Let's give a little shout out to Mike Anderson. I've already brought him up like 3 times. Mike Anderson, my favorite podcasts are with Mike Anderson. That dude fucking kills it every time.
He does.
This is one that really needed his input, in my opinion. I hope he listens to this one. And
He listened to the last one. He commented on our last podcast. But what were you saying, Johnny? Sorry.
I don't remember.
I think, man.
I don't remember what I mean, I talked about the whole World War II thing, and do you think we'll have anything like that again?
Right.
And then I talked about the conglomeration of everybody should be moderate, to be honest. Like, you should lean more conservatively about something. Like,
I think everyone has that.
you're
embedded
telling
in them,
motherfuckers
too.
how to live their life, Johnny?
No. I think
a little
You
bit.
tell motherfuckers how
a
to
little
live their
bit.
life?
Hey, here's the thing. It's okay to have, like, if you have conservative viewpoints for the economy and then liberal viewpoints for, like, life.
Morality.
Yeah,
Because
you can have...
That's who I am.
You
That's
can
who I am.
have different views from both sides
I'm a libertarian.
about different things. You don't
Exactly.
have to be 100% like, you're 100% conservative. You're like, well, I believe in the way taxes are right now, and I believe that the rich shouldn't be taxed more just because they make more money, yada, yada, yada. So I guess I also have to believe that abortion is bad and that gun control is bad. Like, you're not required to have all the beliefs of one side. You can mix things up. You can be for gun control and for abortion at the same time. Or wait, vice versa. Whatever.
And I'd be interested to see if this...
Whatever. You can have two...
I just don't think people sit down enough and actually have conversations with other people.
That's the big part, man. I think
and to develop their own opinions about things.
And I think that that's one thing that this podcast has done, man, and it's opened up my eyes, is to just, like, calm down and relax sometimes. And just, like, take in the other side. Like, again, and I'll say this 100 times, like, I'm not opposed, man. Like, I was a huge Bernie Sanders supporter before And I don't even want to get into that. What I'm saying is, like, I have it in me, in my blood. I was born with it. I'm able to listen to both sides of the story, man. And I think you're right. Everyone should do that. Everyone should sit down and have talks. And that's what we're trying to do here at Talk Junkies, is have conversations and make those questions. But when it comes, that's really all
it's hard to, everybody's biased. It's hard to not be biased, but you should try to live your life, not live your life that way. Do whatever you want, but try to have conversation with people and not be biased all the time and view things from another perspective. I've always said in the past, I've brought it up, the fact that if you truly believe in something, you should be able to wholeheartedly argue against your own belief.
Right.
If you can't have an argument against your own belief and you don't want to hear other people's arguments against your belief isn't that valid to yourself in the first place then. If you can't listen to other people's opinions...
Unless it's absolute truth, right?
Unless it's absolute truth. But dude, how can you have absolute truth in anything?
Dude, but this is what happens every time. You have a group of people that 200 years ago thought they absolutely fucking had it right. And then nowadays we look back at them and laugh. And we go, really? You fucking thought this was okay? And then you think nowadays, oh my God, with all this new technology and the gathering of information, man, I got this one locked down, bro.
That's what I'm saying. You should never have it.
No. Always be humble. Realize everybody's imperfect. Nobody's fucking perfect. And if somebody tells you they're fucking perfect and they absolutely know, I guarantee you they fucking have it wrong. You need to stay humble. You need to be polite to everybody. Respect everybody's fucking opinion. Realize that we have a finite life on this fucking planet. And all we're trying to do is our fucking best. And the best way to do it, and I see this every day, just people being polite and nice to each other, regardless of, contradicting opinions that individuals fucking have, but they don't get up in arms and go and fucking kill the other motherfucker because, you have a different fucking religious opinion than me, or, you have a different political opinion than me, or, man, you like peanut butter and I like fucking chocolate. When actually you realize that together you actually create something fucking better in the end because of your fucking just nice, interaction with each other at the fact that you have different opinions. Man, I'm getting this into some weird shit.
No, I like it.
My whole thing is be polite to fucking people. Be nice to people.
I think
somebody has a different opinion than you. Fucking hear them out.
Majority of people are
fucking
that
talk
way.
to them about it.
I feel like, because
nobody has a right.
You've traveled.
Not me. Not Johnny. Not fucking Paul. Not anybody listening to this. You don't have everything fucking right. Everybody's still learning. Everybody's still growing.
Throughout your travels,
that's what life is.
Throughout your travels, and you've been places. I mean, like for the most part, people are, very just nice and relaxed and chill.
For the most part, absolutely.
In interactions, and we're talking, going to California or Utah or Colorado. I haven't really been East Coast
Actually,
very much.
A Colorado shirt right now. Almost.
I've been to Aruba.
Denver's
man.
not in the playoffs.
Aruba,
I can wear this.
Aruba, the people were nice in Aruba. I think naturally in us, we're nice people and we want to be nice to each other. And I think the message that we're trying to reach out to people in with YouTube videos, like the Alex Jones podcast with Joe Rogan, hit 16 million people, right? What are the other 100 million people doing that are adults? Because there are 350 million people, and that's worldwide. I'm just curious. Not everyone watches YouTube. Not everyone watches all social media platforms. So I guess what I'm curious in having a conversation with are people who watch social media or alternative media, are they more in tune to what's going on? And the people that don't, are they the ones who are fucking just so brainwashed to where we can't have the civilization that we want to have?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Yeah, no. I think you can be... Honestly, I think you can watch alternative
like
media
else,
and be brainwashed by that just as well. You can go too far in that direction.
You can go too far in the other direction, too. At some point, you have to... Man, you got to take some shit with a goddamn grain of salt and realize that you're not going to have all the fucking facts and that you're only living this life and you can only absorb so much information.
I get that. I
get
that. I get all this.
You as an individual can only take in so much that you're never going to get the fucking full picture on everything. But you just got to do your fucking best here.
It seems like there's an abundance of people who just buy into what is sold to them. I'm just kind of curious where that's coming from. Why are the masses, and maybe it's bread and circus, whatever, blah, 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 but why are they so bought into the system, unlike the alternative media or the people
you're talking about a generational gap? Because the people that you're talking about are way older than you that do that.
There's still 350, 360 million people in the United States.
People our age don't fucking watch Fox News and fucking CNN and MSNBC.
Or if they do, they're also watching YouTube and
No, we go to fucking YouTube for our shit. I go to Imager. Dude, Imager is where I get my up-to-date shit. Because it's cool for me. It's where I get my fucking info from. It's where I found out about the Australian fires and any important political shit that really fucking is super important, like the Ajit Pai. You have net neutrality issue came up. First time I ever heard that, and it was all of a sudden really big to me. Was from fucking Imager. I feel like, man, I don't know where I was.
See that even that though is just a different form of news. Honestly, it's just a different because you could have heard about that on.
I don't want to break it down like on a molecular level when it comes to this. I'm just curious on how we are so far deep into the fact that people are brainwashed. The masses, honestly.
Us too. I hate to say it, us too.
And
we're included in that.
And we are. But what I'm saying to allow, and at least we realize, in a small way, what has happened. And this podcast has kind of talked about that with war and shit like that, and how it happened in the Federal Reserve and all that shit. And it's been talked about for years. But there's still a large percentage of the population who have no idea about it, nor do they care. They're just with the status quo. And they're in the political game. And they're left versus right.
That's the part I hate, is the left versus right, honestly. His book, the tribalism thing, the very much like, why can't you just be polite to people, open the doors for people? Like if you specifically see someone wearing a MAGA hat or MAGA or whatever you want to call it, the Make America Great Again, and you don't hold the door open for them, you're an asshole. Even if you don't agree with anything that they're just another human being with different beliefs than you. As long as they're not out there killing people and genocide and whatnot and actually causing harm to other individuals and they just have different beliefs than you, you treat them like a human. This has nothing to do with war or anything, but it's one of the quotes that I hate, that I have a different version of. People say that you have to earn respect. I hate that. I get where people are coming from saying that you have to earn respect. Like, oh, you got to earn someone's respect. I believe that respect should be given automatically. You shouldn't have to earn my respect. If I meet you on the side of the street, like, you have my respect as another individual, as a human being. You can lose respect, sure. You can do things that affect that and take away my respect for you as an individual. But the very first time I ever meet you, you shouldn't have to earn my respect as another human being.
Who the fuck says respect needs to be earned?
That's a very common
old
saying.
School mentality, yeah.
That is completely fucked. You've completely fucked some shit with that.
That's an old school. That's a super saying though.
You treat everyone fucking equally. Who you meet, the CEO to the janitor, you shake their hand the same way, you look them in the eye the same way, you show them the same fucking respect no matter what.
Yep.
Who the fuck ever thought that was a good idea?
Yeah. So we are getting close to the top of the hour, and we're going to continue what we did last week. I'm going to ask you two some questions. Hope you guys enjoyed that war shit talk, mongering, Bobby Jones bullshit. You know what I'm saying? OG Bobby Johnson. So,
School, man.
What is will America always be obese?
Always?
Oh.
Always.
Ooh. In my lifetime, yes. I don't know after my lifetime. I don't know if there's some science that's going to come in there. We'll always be an obese nation because on an evolutionary level, we are not able to genetically keep up with how much technology has changed our food, which is why we're obese to begin with. Is technology changes so fast and it takes so long biologically to change, which is, like I said, why we're obese in the first place. Now, I don't know if we're going to be able to come up with a solution to that, but it won't be within our lifetime. It won't.
Do you agree in the fact, okay, and I'm not talking about genetically modified foods and shit, and I'll be real quick, is the fact that we're more bred towards hunter-gatherers. We're not really based upon a 3-meal-a-day diet type of that's just not in our DNA. So is that more, why we're obese is because we're eating 3 times a day?
No.
Okay.
No,
I think
that has nothing to do with it. It has nothing to do with, I've said this shit so much.
You didn't ask this question last week, but you asked something real similar because I remember saying the words, like, the fact that good food, healthy food, and exercise and stuff is difficult and expensive. Cheap food and not doing anything is cheap and entertaining. It's more positive in your head or whatever, so you're always going to have that issue. When you allow someone to buy 5 McDonald's cheeseburgers for $5, but the same, it costs $10 to get a salad that's a decent salad or whatever, that's a problem.
100%. How big is God's ego?
That's a weird one, man.
God
I'm
shouldn't have an ego.
I'm gonna let Jesse go off on this because I got nothing
God
for
shouldn't
that.
have an ego. God should be without ego. But it's weird because most religions paint pictures of God with an ego and this want. But in my mind, if they're in, man, this is deep. I didn't fucking smoke enough weed tonight for fucking this question. God should be without ego, and not this wanting, which is what an ego is. This is, ego is you and this want and this acceptance of, who you are. We get panicked as individuals, losing a sense of ego, and you can really only get that through psychedelic drugs, heavy psychedelic drugs. But I think God should have no ego.
I can't remember what ego actually means compared to, because I learned about this in psychology. Because you have three things. You've got your id, your ego, and I don't remember what the third one is. But you've got those three things, and I don't remember what ego is compared to the other two. Because they're all a different part of your personality and what makes up you as a
it almost creates flaws
human
within
mind.
itself. And God should be this perfect thing, right? So God should be,
According to the
God
Christian
should
Bible.
be egoless. God
According
has
to
a huge ego.
According to the Bible.
According to the Bible, God has a huge ego.
I'm more with Alex Jones, as weird as it sounds, that God has no idea who God is, and God is looking to find out who God is.
That's you're on
Man,
some,
you
you're
talk
on some
about the
different
most
level
just
stuff.
easy. You talk about the most just easy, like super stoned, fucking answer to that fucking shit, man.
That's why God created evil and good.
Alan Watts would laugh at you. Alan Watts would fucking laugh at you, and he'd be like, "All right, let me strap your seatbelt in. I'm going to give you a 2-hour lecture."
But there's
what this is.
There's no evidence to support that God knows who God is because we don't know.
Dude, you can't fucking.
Dude, there's no
study.
evidence of God.
Right,
You're
exactly.
going into just you're going into a.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
the
a-
universe. The universe might be slight evidence of God.
Okay. That there's an ultimate
you-
power.
you're-
I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't have a good.
Speculatory conversation, guys, which
Yeah.
is honestly my favorite. Whenever you
Yeah.
get to like religious and like in God and questions like that, super speculatory conversation is my favorite. But
It's
I
real
would
philosophical.
say my personal preference is in how I paint God and the picture of Him is without ego and without all this want.
So
and-
it's a
and self.
him.
No, I think God very much could be a female because I know.
I think God probably doesn't have a gender.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm leaning towards that as well. God is just God, man.
I like my baby Jesus.
That's what I was just thinking. You're like, when I paint God, I like my baby Jesus.
5 pounds 7 ounces, newborn baby Jesus.
I like the baby version of Yoda.
And
Mountain Dew, NASCAR.
there-
You got any more? You got any more questions?
No,
Any-
that's all I got.
That's it,
I'll
just
keep
those
it
two
to
little-
Cool. Those are good. Man, that could have sprung into a whole nother thing, man.
Yeah. But we'll leave it at that. Thank you, folks, for tuning in to Talk Junkies. Thanks for listening. Hope you watched all 1 hour of hot, action-packed Talk Junkies. With Johnny, Jesse, and P-Wiz in the house, man.
Oh,
doing
shit.
it
Old
big.
school.
Oh,
Yeah,
shit.
doing it big. So hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification when we come out with new videos, and it uploads tomorrow morning. You see that shit and it says Talk Junkies. Listen to that shit. Hit the like button. To all our junkies out there,
Stay fly and ring the bell.